Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Divine Disaster. This is Battlefield 1. In today's weapon review, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Hellriegel 1915 factory with the aim, of course, of finding out a little bit more about its properties, its strengths, its weaknesses, how to best use it, when to use it, and of course, how it compares to some of the other available SMGs for the assault class in Battlefield 1. Now, I know a number of you have been waiting for this weapon review for quite some time now, and I know it should have been out a lot sooner than this, but frankly, I A, had trouble getting this weapon unlocked, and B, wanted to be certain on what my opinion was of it before I gave a review, collected enough experience and gameplay with it before I gave you the rundown of what I think you should be using this weapon for and when you should be using it. But this day has now finally come. I can safely say I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Hellriegel, and we can fully review it today. Starting off, of course, we're going to be starting with these stats as we always do in a weapon review, and for the Hellriegel they are relatively impressive. Now we start off with a usual damage model, usual in the sense that it's also shared by the MP18 Trench. There isn't that many SMGs in the game, so to be talking of the normal SMG damage model would be a little bit of a stretch, but certainly you will be doing a guaranteed 5-shot kill in close quarter with your maximum damage of 23 and your minimum damage of 13.5. What is of course to be noted is, as all SMGs in Battlefield 1, you shouldn't really be using them at longer ranges if you can avoid it, because of course you're not going to be doing a hell of a lot of damage. At 13.5 damage, you will eventually actually need 8 bullets from about 37 meters onwards to kill your enemy. You are, however, within 5-shot kill range up to 22 meters. With the damage model being covered, next up, of course, we have the fire rate at 650 rounds per minute. For Battlefield 1 terms, this is pretty good. It's actually amongst the higher fire rates you can get for the automatic weapons, which means you're going to be doing a decent, actually a very good amount of damage in close quarter situations. Next up then we have the magazine size at 60. This is massive. It's pretty much the best you can get for the assault class. You can tear through squads, probably even 2 of them at a time if you get into real close quarter situation without having to reload. What I should note, however, you can't actually fire the full 60 shots without the weapon actually kind of needing a cooldown. So after about, I think it's 30 shots, maybe 25, the weapon will stall if you continuously fire and don't give it some time to cool off. It basically overheats. Nonetheless, however, this magazine size at 60 is great. It does, however, come off, of course, with some drawbacks regarding reload times, which are lengthy reloads. The short reload for the Hellriegel at 3.75 seconds is nothing to joke about and should be done in a controlled environment where you know you're not going to get surprised. This is, of course, even worse for the long reload, that is with not a single bullet left in your chamber, at 4.5 seconds. However, given that you have 60 rounds to go through in the first place, I don't find it too much of a hindrance to the performance of this weapon. What I do find, however, is that the Hellriegel, because of its other properties that we will in a moment talk about, is relatively good at burning through ammunition way faster than you really would expect it to. Despite having 2 magazines or 120 rounds, I often find myself chasing support players for ammunition with this gun more frequently than I would with something like an Automatico or even an MP18 Trench. With that being covered, then let's move on to the main strengths of this weapon, the recoil model. Despite having an increase to its recoil in the fall patch, it's still a very, very controllable weapon in terms of the recoil department, with vertical recoil at 0.28 and a side-to-side recoil that is left and right at 0.266, even on both sides. This is complemented further by a relatively low first-shot recoil multiplier, 1.8. What this all means is basically this weapon doesn't kick a lot, allowing you to shoot at medium range, relatively reliably hitting most of your shots. Of course, you're going to be fighting a small or relatively bad damage model at this ranges, but most guns you're going to be competing against actually do as well. All of the SMGs for certainly will, and the LMGs aren't that much better at longer ranges than the SMGs, so it should be noted that you're actually relatively competitive at medium range, especially if you can squeeze a cheeky headshot or 2 in there as well. I wouldn't necessarily go up against some of the DMRs from the medic, that's of course given, but you're going to be doing at least a decent amount of damage, which makes this gun a lot more flexible than something like the MP18 Trench, which has quite a bit of vertical recoil at 0.38, or something like the Automatico that shakes a little bit more in all directions, has a lot higher first shot recoil multiplier, and given its of course much higher fire rate, the relatively higher recoil is even harder to control because recoil is of course measured per shot and not per second. Therefore, the Hellriegel is a lot easier to control, has a lot of ammunition, and thus is very good at both close quarter and medium range. You can use it at longish ranges, however you're not really going to be doing a lot of damage and you're going to be relatively ineffective, so you may just want to save your bullets because one way or another you're going to be running out of those sooner than later anyway, and you may as well use them on a target which you have a decent chance of killing instead of wasting them on somebody who's going to hide behind cover and you're never going to see again. With that being said, last but not least, we do have some more stats for the Hellriegel to cover, and those regard its accuracy. We have a standard ADS value, that's aiming down sight while not moving, of 0.3, typical for the SMGs, present on all three of them, that is to say the Hellriegel, the MP18 and the Automatico, and we've also got some alright hipfire, however worse than your average SMG at 2. This is still good enough for close quarter situations, however unlike for example the MP18 Trench, which is an absolute hipfire beast, or the Automatico Storm, which is also still relatively good, it won't be such of a reliable source of kills in close to medium range. You really should confine using the Hellriegel at a hipfire state to only exclusively close quarter, and otherwise try to aim down sight with this weapon to get the best out of its accuracy. Now with that being said, how do I like to run my Hellriegel? Well, to answer this question in the most simple possible form, basically I run this gun the way the game tells me to run it, because there's close to no option to customize this weapon, even in the terms of Battlefield 1. There's no option here to put a bayonet on, and therefore you're not going to be able to charge the elite class. Is one of the key disadvantages I find with using the Hellriegel, and other than that, all the options that you of course have is a choice between two iron sights. Either you're going to go for the normal iron sights or the buckhorn sights, a matter of personal preference in my opinion. Magnification varying all the way from 1 to 2. I, of course, given that I use this weapon mostly in close to medium ranges, will use the lowest possible magnification as per usual. If you like a 2x multiplier on this, feel free to choose that, of course, as well. Then you have the option to equip any custom skins if you're lucky enough to get one in a battle pack, which I never seem to be. And then last but not least, then you have the recoil directions for those who want to fiddle with that. I don't really usually bother. So there's not much to really change about the weapon, but is it really necessary? How good is this weapon, and how does it compare to the ones that we previously mentioned, the other SMGs available to the assault class in Battlefield 1? Well, as we've already mentioned, it stacks up pretty good. We kind of ran over this a little bit when we were talking about the stats previously. The Hellriegel is a lot more controllable than something like the Storm or the MP Trench. I don't think, however, it is that much better than those weapons. This is very much of a discussion, in my opinion, between mostly the Hellriegel and the Automatico, because frankly the MP Trench is just a slightly worse version of the Hellriegel in my opinion. It is, however, a little bit better at hipfire, so maybe it's better at hipfiring at medium range. If you like hipfire, this will decrease your time to kill, of course, versus the Hellriegel will have to aim down sight and maybe those ranges. But other than that, I would usually take the Hellriegel over the MP18. So it's a competition between the Automatico and, of course, the Hellriegel. Now, a full rundown of these three weapons and how they compete against each other will be subject to a further video. But for the purpose of this video, to briefly explain the difference, you're basically talking about an AEK versus an ace. The AEK in the competent player's hand will be a better weapon, because he will make sure he only gets into close quarter engagements and will there wreck somebody using the ace. Versus the Hellriegel is easier to use and more flexible, and doesn't require as much thought on the player's perspective on where he should take which firefight and on which parts of the maps he is best suited to be using his weapon. So the Hellriegel is a lot more flexible than the Automatico, all the while remaining a very good close quarter option, just not quite able to compete with something like an Automatico or even a shotgun. Be noted with this, if you're going for something like Argonne Forest and find yourself going into a lot of close quarter, this may not be the weapon you want to use. An Automatico or a shotgun may be a better choice. Frankly, however, this is of course distracting from the main topic, and that is the Hellriegel in itself, which is an awesome weapon. Obviously, it's worth unlocking. It's great at medium range from an SMG perspective, that is relative performance to what otherwise is out there. It's a reliable weapon, it's easy to use, and it is of course very, very great to use against multiple targets because of its large magazine size. Running into a room of enemies who haven't noticed you has never been easier taking them all out, because you won't run out of ammunition unless you've killed more than a squad in that small, very small room. It's easy to clear bunkers with it, it's easy to use, it's got low recoil and allows for reliable headshot targeting if that's what you're going for, or you're trying to shoot out somebody from a trench. That said, it isn't necessarily, as mentioned, the best weapon. It is, however, the most flexible weapon. So the best way to compare it is, as one of my subscribers originally in one of their questions regarding the weapon weapon referred to it, is the Ace 23 of Battlefield 1. And with that being said, I think I've reached the conclusion of this video. The Hellriegel is a great weapon, it's an easy weapon to use, and I would definitely recommend that you try it out. Feel free to leave also your experiences with it down below in the comments. Have I missed any key aspects of this weapon that you have found out over playing some Battlefield 1 with this weapon and would like to share? Feel free to leave those down as well, of course, in the comments, as well as your future video suggestions for Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4. With that being said, at this point, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 1 video.